One in every 8 women is expected to develop breast cancer in their lifetime. Terrifyingly, 1 in 33 women diagnosed with breast cancer will die of it. In this episode, Becky shares her inspiring and enlightening experience with being diagnosed with breast cancer while pregnant and the complications of breast reconstruction. This is In Regard to Breast Cancer. At age 29, Becky was living life to the fullest. She was navigating marriage and parenthood while doing the hustle of life. Becky shares with us what her life looked like before discovering she was pregnant with her second son.
Well, we had Braden and, just doing the hustle of life. Working, I was a truck driver. I'm a truck driver by trade, and I was doing short haul concrete. We'd go up to for an outfit in town, and I worked for the city for a bit, and just being a mom and trying to navigate life. Like Jeff and I talked about marriage and figuring out what that looked like for us, which was, horrible at the time. And, but yeah, just doing the grind, right? And, trying to unpack our own lives. But yeah, I still drank at that time. So we'd enjoy our beers, and we always enjoyed doing outdoor stuff, hiking and snowboarding and that kind of thing. So it's kind of what we did, just playing the game of life, right? Working, doing the things we're supposed to do.
Canada oil sands are the 3rd largest proven oil sands reserve in the world. Becky traveled from Kamloops, BC to Fort McMurray, Alberta, a 16-hour journey by car for a financially lucrative employment opportunity.
I got a job offer of running a batch plant, a concrete plant under the oil sands up there, get up here yesterday type thing. So I dropped what I had going on here, moved up there into the company house, and Braden and Jeff were going to come that following September, a few months later.
Once she arrived at her new job, Becky had to do a standard medical screening. What they found would surprise and thrill her.
Yeah, on the entry-level stuff for the oil sands pre-drug tests and all that, it just kind of figured out that I should do a pregnancy test. And that wasn't something that we were planning on, because we had planned to, we tried to get pregnant for about 4 years, and then that's how that works. You just switch gears and, onto this whole new life. And then sure enough, bright blue X that same night. And I was like, okay, well, this is not a pregnant-friendly job. So I spent one night. No, I actually didn't even. 2 nights previous in Fort McMurray, and then I drove that 16 hours home that same night when I got the test, and I spent the night in Edmonton. I got into Edmonton about 2 a.m, and then came home, and on we went with kind of pregnancy stuff at the time. And I had the lump, and, I was 29 and didn't run in my family breast cancer or anything. So it wasn't really on my radar, although it was a different feeling lump, and, hindsight 2020. What it felt like. And then, just they did early pre-screening baby tests as far as ultrasound. I didn't experience that with Braden. They usually did it later in the 3rd trimester or 2nd or something. So, but they did dating ultrasounds with Luke. And so, he said, oh, well, we're doing that. We'll just get that lump checked for breastfeeding. Cause I said, oh, I'd like to get it checked. And, what is this? But I knew, you just know your body. So I just knew that it was just different. It was a peaceful knowing, but I knew that it wasn't just a cyst or something. So then anyways, on it went into surgery literally within the next week and a half.
Becky was aware she had a lump in her breast, but didn't give it much thought, as she felt she had no other symptoms.
Well, I just knew that the lump was maybe not something that was just breastfeeding related.
Right.
At the time, I wouldn't say there was no other symptoms.
Becky's cancer was aggressive and required equally aggressive treatment. The treatment, doxorubicin, known as the Red Devil or the Red Death for its color and toxicity, is widely used for adults and childhood cancers. The treatment was started while she was pregnant with her second child, against the advisement of her doctors and family.
Because my cancer fed on progesterone and estrogen, and that's what it's heightened when you're pregnant. So, and all of the specialists, my oncologist hadn't ever dealt with a pregnant person, and my family is in medicine, so there was all my dad's colleagues, and in love, they were quite aggressive on telling me that I'm not wise to keep the child and that I won't survive and deliver Luke. And, I have this child to care for, and, I'm crazy because there's no way I'm going to live to make it to full term, all things considered, and, or, yes, abort Luke, of course, because it fed off hormones. And also there's no way I could have chemo, because of chemo kills cells from growing. And that's what a baby is growing cells. So I said, well, no, that's not how we roll. I'm going to make my own decision. And so we get what we get and go with that. So sure enough, it was like right away into mastectomy surgery, biopsy. And then, got the results back, and then mastectomy, and then chemo right after that.
Becky describes what her days look like while growing a baby and fighting to beat breast cancer.
A typical day. Yeah, you're in survival mode, but you're also, you have appointment identity. So being pregnant, I was at a few more appointments than just the chemo. I had to go to ultrasound once a week because they were making sure that, Luke was growing kind of properly enough. Blood work, extra blood work because you're for certain things being pregnant, as well as the chemo, and as well as my PICC line. So it's a central line that goes into your heart so it doesn't collapse your veins, basically, because from the chemotherapy, so you don't have to keep getting hooked up every time. And so you have that in the whole duration. So it's, you have to go get it cleaned because it's an infection port. So, you're at that. I was probably at 4 or 5 appointments every week for the entire 9 months of my pregnancy. So that's kind of what a daily, at some capacity, and just trying. And then progressively as I had more chemo, you get more and more tired. So it's just kind of like getting through, and then your hair falls out. And I told my husband, I'm like, this is the only time that you're ever going to be able to take clippers to my hair.
Amongst the chaos of her treatments and the pain of fighting cancer, Becky and her husband still found laughter and joy.
He had some fun, like shaving my head into us, because it was really trippy. It was really bizarre. Like when it starts coming out, you can't even feel it. It's just, you literally grab like a chunk like this and it just goes, and it just comes. You can't even feel it. It just off it comes. So at that point, you're not going to roll with patches and because I had longer hair at the time. So I said, this is the only time you can take clippers to it. So he, had fun shaving my hair into skullet, shaved it and then left it long, and then did anyways. So, but he cut it like this really bluntly first, like DW of Arthur.
Perfect.
Horrible. Perfect. Bangs. And then, so we kind of had laughs. And
growing
fun.
a baby is an exhausting task on its own. Growing a baby while undergoing chemotherapy is a different level of exhaustion. Becky could feel her baby hurting after each chemo treatment, which no mother should ever have to experience.
Exhaustion was kind of next level, an exhaustion because chemo's progressive, and it was like clockwork. I knew exactly almost to the hour every time I get sick after chemo. And that probably one of the hardest things with Luke growing, and every time, and I know how it made me feel, was like clockwork as well. Because we know that babies kick, and we can feel that, especially as they get older in your tummy. Every time I'd have chemo, I just knew because it was, they call it the red death for a reason. It's the harshest chemo out of all the chemos for all the cancers, period. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And it's toxic. Like you can't even get it on anything. And when you go to the bathroom for a few hours after, the next day, but Luke I could feel him squirming and moving, and he would move and squirm and kick for like a certain amount of time, and then he would be listless. It was that pattern. And that's what broke my heart the worst. Like knowing that toxic, the chemotherapy was hurting him so badly and causing him so much pain and suffering, and feeling him moving like that, like just trying to get away from whatever this chemical was I was having to give him. Like that was so hard. And then, and so that sucked. And then, but then the fatigue, I was wheelchair bound on my birthday, getting pushed around because I was so tired, just carrying a baby and being sick beyond measure. Yeah, that was a whole next level. so, there's those different stages, and then there's, you get this little orange card. So every time you have a fever or something happens that you have to go to the hospital for, because every time you have a fever, it could be, it could be a septic infection. So you kind of the cancer protocols, you take your little orange flag, I used to call it, and you go into emergency, and you'd kind of get bumped or they would know that, I don't know, it just labels you kind of higher risk or something. So I was there a few times during that winter, and, I didn't wear weight. It was winter, so I had a toque, and I just went full on, embraced the bumps.
Oh.
Yeah, and didn't get a wig until after and that's the thing. That's one of the biggest things, if I could say, also in my daily life of that time, was slipping through the gaps. And that's when I have a business now, and that's why we started it, is to kind of fill those gaps in systems, because there's so much out there that sounds good and looks good on paper. But for example, when I went, because I was 29 at the time, and actually the Kamloops wig bank is beautiful now. There's a gal that has a salon in town that redid it after, I think, she had breast cancer. And so she really thought that was lacking. And so she used her expertise and her connections with her salon to build this beautiful wig bank.
Becky discovered that there isn't much support for cancer patients, as she had thought there would be.
But when I was there, it was just these little toupee kind of things that were, scarves. They did their best, but it was just run with whatever volunteers were there. And I even went to the Canadian Cancer Clinic, and the actual Canadian Cancer Society, like the one with the yellow flower. And I hear, and I said, oh, I'm looking for a wig, and all these people at the same time were doing these Pantene Pro-V, cut your hair. And, people are donating their hair to all these causes. And I was going, okay, well, where is this going to? Because I went there, and they're like, oh no, we don't have anything like that here. And they had one little box that was just literally on the ground, and she pushed it over to me. All this dust goes up, and these unbrushed little things that wouldn't even fit on someone's head. Oh. And then I said, well, do you have a number I can call to find a wig or something? No idea. And I mean, they're just volunteers as well, but I thought, oh my goodness. So I ended up having to going to Vernon and getting this multi-$100 thing that I wore briefly, because I just wanted to see how I would feel with it. But there was actually nothing available. So and there was many other situations where you just kind of fall through the cracks, or there's no services for you. You're just kind of in that weird demographic, right? Now there's quite a few more resources in Kamloops, I think, for that. But
Becky finished her final dose of chemotherapy just weeks before she gave birth to her son, Luke. Luke arrived on March 29th and weighed a healthy 8 pounds, with more hair on his head than his mama. Becky describes the difficult labor and delivery of Luke.
And then and then delivering. I don't even know how I deliver. I don't actually know how I was able to deliver Luke. I remember telling my doctor, I'm so tired. I just, looking back, you just do, but I honestly don't know how I did that. But yeah. And then I seem to always get, bless their hearts, the students, but because I was a special case, I seem to always get the students coming to look at the special case. So, on top of and that's one thing I actually would advise hospital. I have this plan to help people in that situation at some point in life to not do that, because you don't get any rest. That's a crucial time in any beginner mother's life, whether or not they have this kind of a situation or not, is that time in the hospital for them to even catch up on sleep or anything, which we know doesn't happen, but those are crucial. So if you're adding more stuff to them, they almost dropped Luke trying to bathe them. There's so many things that went on.
Shortly after the birth of Luke, Becky started the reconstruction process. BC Medical, as a part of the breast cancer treatment process, covers reconstruction implants if breasts are removed. Tissue expanders were placed in Becky's body to prepare for her implants to be surgically placed inside her breast tissue.
And reconstruction, or the tissue expander and when I had my mastectomy in the fall prior to delivering Luke at the end of March. And then, so they, through that expansion process, they pump it up every week I had to not do it while I was doing chemo because of the infection risk with having needles and stuff. You have to minimize that as much as possible. And then, so they pump that up over time, and everyone's told, you should get reconstruction. That's just what you do. I mean, many people opt for it not to be, but kind of a natural general consensus is that's just normal as well. It's just as normal, if not depending who you're talking to, you know, you get the narrative of, well, you know, you'll feel more womanly, more feminine, more whole. Again, back to your, well, you're not going to be back to your normal self. You're a whole different person because of this experience. So why not just embrace it? And
Becky starts to feel unwell and struggles to determine why she doesn't feel healthy.
It was 10 years of the last decade of just, like I quit drinking 6 years ago. I don't smoke and put anything in my body. I was an athlete, did triathlon, bodybuilding, different things, and ate really clean and anti-inflammatory, and was always kind of, you know, had friends. I was positive, you know, because we know positivity helps with that, even though, you know, life has struggles. But I just thought, oh, I really, you know, am I just a really crappy ager? Like, do I just, the post-chemo effects, or just, I'm just maybe really horribly at aging? I don't know. But it was kind of these weird different things, these sudden, I had every odd symptom you could imagine with crazy things. And so I was just trying to piece it all together, and that all led to an inflammatory response, which is what your body does when you have any foreign body, which is what the implants were. So my body just ultimately hit what's called failure threshold. And I see a rheumatologist now about that, because I do have a diagnosed with a mixed connective tissue disease, which is a mix of lupus and scleroderma and this muscle kind of disease and rheumatoid arthritis. So it's kind of an overlap of all those.
Wow.
Having been there, I could say that having chemo, a surgery while pregnant, all at the same time, actually it wasn't a breeze, but it was a breeze in comparison to my implant situation, because my body was failing. It was a whole different animal. And not only do you have people kind of telling you you're crazy, even though you know it, and you're showing them these articles, it's just this not wanting to believe it. So you're kind of fighting against that emotional factor. It's also hidden, like when I had cancer, oh, you're pregnant and you have no hair. So you have that support a little bit more. And also just physically, it's something I can't even explain. It was a sickness that trumped the red death chemo any day of the week. And it was for 10 years, and compounding, getting worse to the point where I was in a wheelchair and bedbound and I couldn't move.
Becky realized that the breast implants were making her ill. Her father, a retired doctor, along with her own research, assured her it was the best decision to have the implants removed.
My family, yes, after I dug deep, like I said, and got into things that you can't even really find online, like manufacturer's documents and discerning paperwork, that it's really hard to find, but it's there. They just put black box labeling on breast implants last year.
Black box labeling. Often these warnings communicate potential rare but dangerous side effects, or they may be used to communicate important instructions for safe use of the product or drug.
And there was a bunch of recalls and stuff. So just it's starting again. And I say again because there's a reason why they were banned at multiple different variables over the years. And that's a whole nother story. But, you know, generally it's just like the common sense of don't put something already into a sick body.
Many doctors and professionals did not believe Becky's implants were making her ill. Becky finally convinced a doctor to remove the implants at a personal cost of $6,500.
I mean, I saw 7 doctors and 4 specialists. And even when I got my implants out, one was horribly ruptured and had been ruptured for a really long time. And it was really gross looking. And even my plastic surgeon had done the pre-screening stuff. It said, no, bilateral intact implants. And he was actually very surprised that it was ruptured as well.
Right.
So they just don't know, right? And to be able to say, we don't know, is a really big step that I hope they would take more.
And that's okay that people don't know.
I've seen pictures as I'm on this journey with the implants and trying to figure out what is going on. And then it finally came down to this common denominator that when, you know, by, what's the term, you know, getting rid of everything else. That was the only thing that made sense because I was healthy and other than that, and I had, I was eating well, like I said, and an athlete, and it just didn't make any sense why my body was failing so quickly and so rapidly. And that was the only kind of the common denominator. So, and I'd seen these photos of these women online and, you know, I thought, yeah, right. Like as if that's just for your implant. They looked like death, like horrible, horrible, horrible. And then when they got these implants out, again, different timing because everybody's body's at different stages. They have different variables that happens, but kind of the general consensus was this because I had noticed with my skin that I had aged really crappy, and I had more wrinkles. I was really full here, like I thought, but yet I weighed less than I had ever weighed, because I was really sick. I was like 128 pounds, but my face was really heavy and wrinkly and saggy and bloodshot eyes, and my nose was bigger than it kind of usually is. So, and I thought, oh, again, just maybe I'm just a really bad ager. And so, but looking at these other pictures, I was like, wow, that's amazing how much inflammation went down, and their eyes whitened, and they could actually open them. And then sure enough, I'm not even kidding, my husband, even when he picked me up from the clinic that day of surgery, he goes, oh my gosh, like that evening in the hotel room, because we had to stay a night in Kelowna and then go see the doctor the next morning for follow-up. He goes, oh my gosh, your eyes, like he's the one that noticed it. And I even did before and after photos, and if it didn't happen to you, like I was with those other gals, I was like, there's no way, like that is way too crazy just for that. And again, it's been a journey over the last couple of years, but it was almost like it was instant, just your body not fighting in the head. I don't know. I can't explain it other than the fact that just the inflammation and the stress your body was under, just my body, even in the photos, was just at peace. That's all I could explain. It just, like those things are gone, right?
Becky's experience with breast implants may not be the same as others. She fully encourages people to do their own research to make informed and educated decisions for themselves.
Well, what I tell everyone is don't go on what I say. Don't even go what anyone else says, right? You do your research, do your own research, look at the actual documents if you can find them. And then we can chat, right? I mean, there's no sense in even, it's not about an argument. It's not being right or wrong. It's just, and then also I just ask them questions like, well, we know X, Y, and Z, and this is the same. It just looks different. So, I just ask people questions, and they kind of figure it out themselves. And then if there's, again, at the end of the day, it's going to be their decision, and you just hope that they're going to be able to, at least I feel like at the least, if they can come to me it's only a matter of when, because nobody with implants gets out unscathed at some point. It's always a matter of when, not if. So when that happens for them, that they can come back to me, and I'm lovingly not going to judge them for making whatever decision, that I'll just genuinely help them to health, or not me help them, but help guide them with whatever decisions they got to make. Yeah. Absolutely. Like when my body hit failure threshold with the implants, and just really realizing, well, I mean, I never loved them, and my body rejected them right from when I got them, and I had infections and all these different other things happened. And, I didn't love how they felt. I couldn't breathe well. They just were big, but you're like, well, man, this is just how it's supposed to be.
It has been a journey for Becky to accept her body, even before the cancer. After removing her breasts and implants, she now loves and accepts her body, something that has been a long time coming.
I grew up in the Kate Moss and supermodel era, and was anorexic in high school and hospitalized for that, and had major body issues, and et cetera, et cetera. So struggling with that, and then, losing everything, what it means to kind of essentially be a female in North America it's kind of been a process. There wasn't any definitive moment. Yeah. It's sort of like, well, here you go, here you go, here you go. And then finally, when it's just, I was so excited to, when it got to the point where I was so excited to get that other one off, and just be done with it, and just be fully, I have no intention of getting, people are saying, do you want to wear prosthetics? Or no, I just want to, this is just, it's even indented. It's not even flat. People are like, welcome to the flat club. I'm like, it's actually indented, and you can see my ribs, but I am actually, it's so freeing. Yeah. I actually felt more myself now than I ever have, oddly. Well, I blogged a bit, I did a 365-day writing challenge for myself, where I wrote every day for a year, just more of a consistency challenge. And I wrote on, one last kind of post I posted recently was because of winter time. I was wearing hoodies and jackets for the last few months. So right. It was literally a week or two ago that I went out kind of just like this. And it's interesting because people, I knew it. People are going to kind of be like, what's happening there? Like, what's going on? You get those kind of looks, but.
So you do get those reactions.
Oh, yeah. I was out for a quick meeting with a business meeting, and we were at a local establishment, and sort of the gal came over and it must have caught her off guard. So it kind of made her uncomfortable, but so it was just, I just find it more, I love social sort of experiments in sociology and psychology. So it's just more interesting to see people's reactions. You try and.
I knew that women with large breasts get lots of reaction. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know no breasts would get you any reactions. I just didn't I just think from my personal perspective, I just think you wouldn't think anything. But it's the opposite. You do get attention for it.
There has been, and different. You can just tell, right? I mean, as a human being, you can tell people's body language and how they respond and stuff. So but again, it doesn't bother me. It was just more interesting.
Life for Becky now is helping others and wasting no time. Becky and her son Luke have started a charity to support families who struggle with medical costs that are not covered.
Well, like I said, sort of falling through the gaps with different medical situations and not just medical, but my life and growing up. And there's just a lot of gaps. There's a lot of systems. There's a lot of great groups out there and whatnot. But sometimes when there's the real in the trenches work, like a meal or access to just simple things that unless you've gone through that situation, you wouldn't know that would be a need or something like that. So really we're just filling the gaps and also connecting people. So we have a bit of a clothing company that, because it's a tool, we like to just, money is just a tool, right? It comes and goes. So if we can have a platform and a tool to be able to help fill those gaps and help connect people, that's the biggest thing. And then they can go on their way and do their own thing together. But if we can be that connection for them, that's what we want to do. So with every item that sells, we give a portion back to a cause. So we have a little girl that we're fundraising, for example, a service dog for, just whatever the need that needs to be met at the time. If someone comes forward or we see that need or we're connected with someone in that way, we're gonna try and help them and make it fun and use it really just our business as a tool. Yeah, for connection for other people and getting the word out there.
Who does the designs of the clothing?
Well, it originated from Luke, our youngest son, because he is an artist and he loved painting on canvas. And so he signed his name with this cool little signature when he was really little. And he said, "Mom, this is my signature. Like, look what I said in my painting." And I thought, oh, that's super cute. And that's really creative because at the time, I think he was 3 or 4. And then he loves fashion. He's a little, loves his hair, loves his fashion. And but he loves helping people. And I think because he's had open heart surgery and he has a few other things with his heart and he's been in children's hospitals and seen a lot of things, he has a lot of compassion for other kids and sick people or people that are hurting. And it just kind of came together that this design came up and then also his artwork, and we just kind of threw some things together. Like the families that we have doing some of the features with us, they help design them. So whatever connects, like the service dog, the zebra is the rare disease symbol. So it's kind of a zebra heart that we have for that hoodie, and the families are involved in designing it. So it really just depends. So it's kind of Luke and his love of fashion and love of giving back and whatever is there for inspiration.
After all the trials and hurt Becky experienced, she had a lot of pain and anger. Even though it took a while for the anger to fade, Becky found a new, healthier way to live.
I can definitely still be angry at times. But yeah, and I was a very angry, jaded, bitter person for a long time. I went through that and I drank it away and I don't drink anymore. But yeah, you go through those times where I was very bitter and very angry at the world. The hard part is nobody, when you have cancer, you're noticeably sick, and when people don't know about something as well as something else, you are kind of viewed as, oh, you're kind of crazy or you're just dramatic, or so you're not getting that emotional support either from when you're going into these facilities or the hospital and stuff. People kind of aren't taking you seriously. That's really hard. Again, now it's changed in the last 2 years since I went through it a bit more, thankfully for those people. But it was really hard. Yeah, physically. I didn't think I'd make surgery, truthfully. Yeah.
If another person is in the same shoes as you, what helped you to keep going as if you're going to make it to surgery, though? What brought you some light into that dark moment that you had?
Well, it was just letting go and just being like, well, whatever's supposed to happen, happen. And but I've been through that kind of scenario a few different times in life. So, but yeah, again, I'll just put it all back to Jesus.
Yeah.
That's it, in the Bible.
Yeah.
Just being in the Word.
Just having faith that it's going to come through
in
on
truth,
the other side.
Like just leaning on to truth.
Yeah.
The poem Footprints. So there's that, it's popular. And it's about, it ends with a phrase that says, why God, through all my trials and stuff, did you, there only one set of footprints, and why did you first, leave me? And he said, my son, it was then that I carried you. And that's why there's one set of footprints. And that has been so profound in my life. And that 100% it's just always stuck as truth. I mean, really, it just comes down to the golden rule, right? Love God, love others. We're not here for a long time, and ours should be shared. I mean, we're part of a bigger responsibility in living here. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from other than just, I don't really need it for myself. And others, it could change someone's life. You don't ever know what what we talked about a little bit off the record there. Like, you don't know what that one little extra bit of time, that extra $5 or that one thing, that one time, yes, sure, they could use it for something, but else, and we don't know, but that's not ours to judge. We're called to give and to share and to love on others and not to judge. I mean, yeah.
It's just
and that we don't know what that gesture, that kind gesture could be, the only gesture that person feels valued. People need to be heard, safe, and valued. And if we just don't know how we're going to change someone's life that one last time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to ask everyone a question. And the question is, what do you love about yourself?
What do I love about myself? Well, I do love that I can just embrace the body that I have now, like actually love on it a bit more, or just at least tolerate it. Because I beyond loathed every single part of my body for the majority of my life, from different variables, reasons, as we all sort of unpack our lives and different things that happen to us and with us and from us, our choices and stuff. But to actually just, and let's be serious. There's days that I'm like, I wish this, or, I poor me, or this, like, I mean, that does happen. Absolutely. But for the most part, I'm just grateful that I can move my body, and that I'm grateful for it, I guess.
She knows perseverance, and she knows, very sympathetic, empathetic. She knows pretty well, basically, what people are feeling before they even know what they're feeling, and she's there to rise to the occasion, to be there with them before they even know that they need the help. That's who she is every day. She's strong. We know where she gets her strength from, but every morning she's back at it, back in it, and I feel like she was chosen to lead through the things that she's been through in life, and she's willing and very able to do so with those. Like, she has a whole host of gifts. Whether she knows how many people admire what she does and her abilities, she's not able to accept that. Like, she doesn't want the focus on her. In all honesty, there's no way I can hold a candle to that. I can't hold a candle to her and what she does and what she does for all of us. She does it without, we're all human, we have our moments, but she does it without complaint.